How are you? Thank you. Thank you so much. This is our time to recognize the greatness of MLK. Indeed. Thank you, Miss Mickey. Yes, indeed. Young. That's all of us. We're younger than we were. We're younger than we'll be tomorrow. We're young, gifted, and black. No excuse. We got to make sure we're creating paths, making it easier for those who come behind us. I wonder how many people have listened to this song lately. We should bring it back. We need it to be an anthem. I want us to really think about our careers, our lifestyle, our commitment, our journey, the legacy we want to leave, the legacy that we're creating. You know, how we are contributing. You know, I love that they created King Day and put to it, or we have and acknowledged, and the federal government has acknowledged King Day, and as a day of service. But I want it to be, if I had a choice, I would want us not to get confused what service is. Like, service is work. Service, a lot of times we think, oh, that's something that we receive. But I know that, MLK would want us to see it as a day to get busy, a day for us to, gain knowledge, a day for us to see, what has been left undone and what do I need to make sure, gets done. Now, one of my members today, I was, thinking about when I wanted to promote this event and have more people participate. I wanted to, invest in promoting it. And the social media page that I wanted to spend the money on, and this is for everybody who thinks that the color of money is green, it's not. And when people say that, I know that they've just never been in business. No, the color of money is not green. And there's a lot of people, and if we just went back into the history of the civil rights movement, the point of it is, that the color of money is not green. Like, that there are, people who do not want to allow you to take advantage of the resources that are available, no matter how much money you got. They don't want to hear it. They don't want, to help you grow. And so they rejected it. They said, oh, no, you cannot say King Day 2024 income inequality is growing. That's outside of our political speech. And I was completely confused on how can you refuse to allow me to share with the world an acknowledgement of King Day, and for us to celebrate this. And I want to spend the money, and I want to make a difference. I'm sacrificing for this. And they said no. You can look, on my social media wall where I put it on several. Like, I just took a screenshot and it said, rejected. doesn't doesn't fit our guidelines. And I was like, I'm, going to do it anyway because I usually on Wednesday night, but I wanted to make sure that I allowed myself to be quiet long enough to receive what it was that I feel that God wanted me to share with you tonight. Like, and until I receive that, I can't promote it. And I also feel that way about, Sunday mornings. Like, Wednesday nights are a little bit easier because they're about business, but this is about, when it's about matters of the heart, and it's about, my relationship with God, and it's about, our purpose, our life's purpose. Um, it gets a lot more intentional for me. So I know now that God wanted me to do this so that I can tell you that our desire to expand and to grow and to help, doors are still being shut. That's why I could not advertise and promote this. It was still shut down. We have on most of them, if they don't like it, on any of them, they won't share it. They're not going to share it. You won't see it. They can just shut it down. You won't see that particular part of the internet because that all of these platforms where we're sharing information, control the information. And that's why I encourage each of you to make sure that you go to my website, afroeconomics.com or jbbryan.com, and you sign up for the free membership. Because I've seen times where, for example, like 9/11, and because of being committed to communicating and organizing with all my clients and, just talking, I was able to reach out. Okay, we're having a conference call at noon. That was like, before Zoom and all this. No, but I was able to reach out and get it to them. Hey, we're talking at noon. Let's talk. No, I need to have as many ways to communicate with us. We need to have as many ways to communicate with us that are not controlled by others as possible. Because, often, the more that you're trying to do for others, the more your commitment to God, the more your commitment to God, that the more you're gonna find the walls put up to separate us from one another. No, if no, if we were talking about, booty shaking and negativity, and then you wouldn't have to worry about that. I could promote that all we want. You know, the world will allow us to harm one another. But tonight I want to talk about a work that King started, but he wasn't able to finish. And some would argue that because he had started working more on economics and about income equality, that's why it really got too much for Satan to handle, and he really had to go. No, it was just because he came and he started, on, what, people should be paid more. And last week I was given the opportunity to talk about, income, wealth, and your health. So we have this income inequality that's obvious in all of the statistical information that I will share here, but it will, and we talk about, all the income, and when you think about income inequality, you don't think about the fact that it's killing our people off, that it is creating diseases in our young people that aren't correctable when they get older because they weren't able to have the opportunity for proper development because of poverty. Because of poverty. A child that is born in poverty and raised in poverty is more likely to have all sorts of health problems. So that when we live and we watch politicians put off setting a national federal minimum wage that is actually livable. We got a minimum wage, but then we got livable wages that we need, that we don't have in our country. And the people that it impacts the most are people that look like me. I'm going to read from this. It's from a research done by the Brookings Institute, and the writer on this was Vanessa Williamson in 2020. The racial wealth gap should be recognized as the consequence of discrimination, public and private, throughout American history and continuing to this day. Nearly 250 years of slavery were followed by a century of Jim Crow segregation and economic exploitation, reinforced by state-sanctioned violence. Until the latter 20th century, Black people were excluded from public programs to encourage home ownership and higher education. Racial inequality persists in our contemporary punitive colorblind system. Due to discrimination, Black people receive lower valuations on their homes and earn less money compared to white people performing the same work. Biases in public investment and criminal justice leave Black communities simultaneously underserved and over-policed. Underserved and over-policed. And these civil rights violations also have serious economic consequences. Black people in America have been systemically stripped of the wealth they have produced. Only a transformative national agenda can address the racial wealth gap, because the disparity is the product of societal racism compounded over generations. That's where we are today. Sound like something, written in during civil rights. Now that's before COVID. It was written right in there. Then in 2020, they put together this data. So it's the end of 2020, ending the pandemic, but didn't have the opportunity to really ingest like how the pandemic has made all of this even worse. The 400 richest American billionaires have more total wealth than all 10 million Black Americans' households combined. Black households have about 3% of all household wealth, while the 400 wealthiest billionaires have 3.5% of all household wealth in the United States, because wealth in the United States is so highly concentrated, and because the wealthiest Americans are almost exclusively white, the racial wealth gap is also concentrated among the wealthiest families. Indeed, if the wealth gap were completely eliminated for all but the richest 10% of households, the total racial wealth gap would still be more than $8 trillion. 80% of the total wealth gap that exists today still have a problem. No, even with that change. The richest American billionaires have more total wealth than all 10 million Black American households combined. And it is argued that that situation is because of lifestyle choices. And we know now, research proves that is so untrue. It continues to write, any plan to eliminate the total racial wealth gap requires, in addition to transformative national investment in Black households and communities, a program of heavily and highly progressive taxation aimed, their argument, at the wealthiest American. The taxes would raise revenue that would allow for racial justice to at least be addressed. I would have to look farther at that, but I know that an easy thing for them to start is to make sure that we have a livable wage requirement for all workers. Nobody should have to work and not be able to live off 40 hours of work. We have that, and it dominates. We have over. I think that, saying that, oh, we have to increase the taxation, on this wealth group, like that is on this particular group of wealthy people, that is harming harming us in the delay of what needs to be done. Because then we've got to collect the taxes, then we've got to create the programs, then we've got to make sure that the programs benefit those whom they're designed to benefit. Like in the reaction of redlining, they created the Community Reinvestment Act, and the Community Reinvestment Act did not reinvest in the communities that were redlined. So when we separate that from directly going to the victim, it's like putting a Band-Aid on the person who's not bleeding, but you're using them to fix the problem. No. But, you have to focus on building income and increasing income in this country immediately if we want to have income equality. And the first thing is for the government to make a mandate, private and public, that people are to be paid. And no more discussion about, oh, this is going to require that we lay off people. No, if they want to make money, they're going to have to pay people to work a livable wage. This will also require, if that company lays off people, they will have to pay them unemployment for that time. And the government can adjust with increases in unemployment if they lost their job due to an increase in the federal minimum wage. If that employer says this is why it happened. If it were in 10 years, or 5 to 10 years of the increase in the minimum wage requirement, if anybody lost, I require all the corporations to increase, they would have to increase their money paid into unemployment insurance. These companies are paying into unemployment insurance. They are not paying the unemployment for the person. What is frightening is that somehow people that do not have a problem can't fathom that that problem could possibly ever be theirs. If we don't learn to empathize and to embrace that it is my responsibility to create the best life for myself, but not at the expense of harming someone else. That we can have and live our best life, but it is not to hurt the very people who built this country, which is our Black descendants of slaves. We are deserving of this lifestyle. Even before they can argue all they want about the reparations, we need to have a immediate reconciliation with Nobody should be working for a minimum wage that does not allow them to live. These are certain things that we have to address immediately. And they can continue to argue on who and when and if we get reparations. But meanwhile, babies are not getting food. People are stressing over how they're going to provide for their children. We need to have a society that acknowledges the discrimination and the inability for Black people to start businesses because of the programs that were not provided to them in our country. So we don't have the history of entrepreneurships nor the inheritance of businesses because we were not allowed. We were kept from. We were discriminated against. The businesses were not privy nor provided there. And even if we attempt to refer to the inability of Black businesses to get insurance, and then the communities that burned down the Black businesses, and the businesses were not allowed to have insurance because they were discriminated against because they were Black business, because they knew that someone was going to burn their business down. So we have this legacy in our community of people who were forced out of their businesses. So what do we do now? What do we do now? Well, we make sure and we vote for these people. They make sure that Black people don't have an opportunity for government contracts. They reduce our access to the government contracts with every passing year. Our status is ignored. These things that will happen directly in this country were ignored. As Martin Luther King said, I can understand these things that happen in other countries because that's the basis of that country. So that's all that people know. But we know that this country that we built was based on God. In God we trust. This is how we treat people. And we're accepting of the mistakes that were made, but there has to be corrections going forward. And what do we do now to add back the human, the humanness to this country and stop this, that if everything has to be about the rich get richer? I truly believe that you will continue to get rich if we do better by one another and support the empowerment of each other and support the movement and the expansion of everyone, that every community in every neighborhood should have a jobs training program so that the income in that neighborhood starts going up, so that they'll have the future in technology. Every neighborhood should have within 5 miles a training center for the future of this country, for the betterment of this country. Everyone should be able to walk or have public transportation access to knowledge. To knowledge. If not, how are we going to work? If we know that computers are replacing people in every passing day, how do we make sure that people are trained on these computers? How do we make sure that people are given the opportunity to have proper protection if they did do something wrong, that they have someone that's appointed to them to look out for their best interests and protect them and not over criminalize our community? And having a way that we properly address all issues, and accept the fact that the discrimination did happen. I really truly wish that there was something that I could do that would be so powerful that Afroeconomics, that I could create it in my formula, that it would immediately, if I say, you do this, then you'll have the income that you deserve. And it hurts as I'm in my 20, 30 plus year as a financial advisor and 29th, plus year owning my own firm. But I've been in financial services all these years, most of my very life, the majority of my breathing life, to see that what Martin Luther King spoke of, economic equality, has turned out to be worse than it was when he was living. Our income gaps are growing every day. How? You know, and the top is fine. The top is fine. The scary part is the bottom. Everybody acts like the people on the top are the enemy. They're not the enemy. They're not the enemy. It's the people who are allowing the bottom to go down more and more. That's the problem. A lot of the richest people are the ones who actually implore that, if given the mandate to increase their minimum wage, would do it. They wouldn't have a choice. They want to stay in business, they'd have to do it. They want to take it to another country, well, then you know what they're made of. No, that needs to be addressed. It needs to be brought public. And I believe that anywhere they are on the planet, if it's a company that's based out of the United States of America, they should have to pay minimum wage, even if they're in Africa. You can't go to Africa to try to only pay $1 a day and hurt them. And you go over here and you sell it at these dollars. No, no. But these are the ways that we have to think and stop voting for people who get elected and don't and don't allow our incomes to progress because they're not doing anything to pull it forward. As one of our members today, she was showing me how you can look up everything that's going through legislation. And there was a bill in this, and this was in the state of Virginia that we were looking at, and it had like to bring minimum wage up to like $10 an hour next year and so and such. I was like, oh my goodness. Even if they do that, it's still not going to be a livable wage. And I can say this as a business owner. No, it should hurt people in business if you can't make sure the people who help make your dream can live. Then what's the point of being in business? That's what we should ask. Then what's the point? Because I have a dream that income equality should be our goal in business. I have a dream that we can encourage people that are helping build dreams to actually be excited about working again. Last year, they said there were more unhappy people working than ever before. And a lot of that is not about, money. Most of their lack of joy at work was about, management issues and not being respected and not feeling valued. No, and not being able to grow to be your best self at your company. Those were the type of 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 issues. Because people generally think that they're making the most that they can make. And especially in our community, I think that we often accept less than the value of our work because we've been socialized and discriminated against, and in many cases so beat down psychologically that you're accepting way less than you deserve. And in many cases, it's you have to try an interview somewhere else. You have to dig deep within yourself and don't stay anywhere so long that you have become undervalued. I hear cases all the time of people feeling like they're just put over in a corner. They're trying to get them out. They're trying to force them out. They're making up stuff. They're getting rid of their support so that they have to do everything by themselves, and then they feel like, that they still have to perform as if they had help, but no, you don't have to accept that behavior. You still get to, if they get rid of the support, you still do your work effectively, efficiently, and you do it. You do it. And you do it and you do your best. And these computers now are monitoring you. They know how many times you click. They know how long you're in front of the computer. They know, have people losing jobs because the computer is telling the supervisor that you're not at the computer enough. You're not doing enough. And with all of these things that they're incorporating to cut down their expenses, they even have you working from home and have you thinking that it's to your best benefit. So, and then you can't write that off on your individual tax return, the business expenses at home, because you don't own the business. So they're making all this money off of you and still paying you not enough. That's why the membership has helped so many people. I wish I really have to start like keeping it up with the numbers, because I tell you, I can increase income just from us being more strategic about how we feel about ourselves. And knowing that, no, if you and we are beautiful, beautiful. Lord, wonderful workers, loyal workers. So in exchange for that, what are you going to make sure that you get so that you can take care of your family and your future? Those are the things that we have to do. And I know that Martin Luther King, when he was doing these, marches and, with the garbage workers and, doing the marches with the, bus drivers and, that he started thinking the amazing thing about when they boycotted the buses is that how many Black transportation companies were created. And imagine if we had started Uber, because we started getting into it way back then. And then all of a sudden, they were ready to compromise. Okay, Black people can sit anywhere they want, when they started seeing that we would walk and we would carpool and we would start our own buses and start our own shuttles and start our own. You want income equality? You want income equality? Start your own. That's what I did. I remember when I first became a stockbroker, the investment firm, and the women that were there, much older than me at that point, and they were talking about how they had been discriminated against, all white women, and that I was the only Black person in the boardroom, and of course, the only Black woman, and and so when they started talking to me about how they were paying, certain brokers and then not paying them, and and then they stood up and they had to fight for it, and what they were saying, and be careful. I said, ladies, honestly, I really never thought about being a woman, because all I've ever thought about is being Black. I never thought that the inequality was going on so many different levels for me. And as an entrepreneur, I feel it every day. Every day. It does not stop. It doesn't stop. All I do is I just pray that God will give me the strength to renew each day. No, I asked one of our members, he's really into, has a book called Positivism. And Mr. Robinson, Positivism. You'll have to look at the book. And I said, I wonder sometimes, you know, am I making a difference? Can I make these things happen? That I'm trying to do, that I want to do, that what I want to do. And he said, your challenge is to become your best self. So your challenge is to become your best self, JB, and to be the light for others. Whoa, that changed everything. Because, I was thinking like, oh, I got to get you to want to make more income. But when reality is me, I have to focus on my right for equality, that I have that right. And from what you see me do, provide the light for you to come on through. Come on through. Because you can't drag anybody through. They have to want to come through. No, they have to want to come through. No, y'all aren't making any comments today. I can't make you make any comments. But I just know that I want you to know that God is helping me become my best self. And it is my goal to help create income equality through the example that I set. Mm, 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 mm. This one, the Urban Institute says that they feel there was like 5 specific things that they think will close the racial wealth gap. Now, remember that wealth and income are totally different things. So we have a wealth gap. So we focus, the focus so much is on the wealth gap. No, but I feel that the focus really should also be on the income gap, like I had in last week's study that was showing that the lack of income is the killer. The lack of income is what creates the health problems. Poverty is connected to diseases. The lack of income. So they keep doing the research on the wealth and the wealth and the wealth and the wealth, you know what I'm saying? Where there's actually a lot of wealthy people in our community who have wealth, but they have no income. So they like how they look on the page, but they're starving. They can't take care of themselves. They can't get their things maintained. They can't take care of the assets that they have. Look at how many movie stars and things that we had that had the wealth. They just had no income from it. Even Michael Jackson was lacking income. My goodness. So they said these specific things for wealth: home ownership tax subsidies, promote retirement savings, reauthorize the assets for independent programs, um, assets for independence program established by Assets for Independence Act 1998, the largest source of funding for individual development accounts. IDAs are personal savings accounts targeted at low-income households that encourage them to save for specific investments. That's some shit. I'm low income. They're talking about accounts to make low income people save more. They're freaking on poverty level already. And they really think that this is it. Increase access to high quality education for low wealth families. And their 5th suggestion is improve access to micro and small business capital for low wealth groups such as African Americans and Hispanics. Self-employment can patch income shortfalls, improve earnings growth, and diversify families' wealth base beyond home ownership and retirement assets. Exactly what I've been arguing all my life. We need more businesses. We need more businesses. We need businesses. We need the system to support the business. Support the business. If home ownership was actually creating wealth in our community, we would be wealthier. The gap wouldn't be going bigger. The majority of highly wealthy white people, their wealth is not coming out of their residential real estate. But all these freaking mostly government funded stuff is constantly telling us we need to have a government loan and then that's going to make us wealthy. It's just going to put us in debt because they freaking make sure that our neighborhoods don't increase in value. So we have a whole bunch of people whose actual bankruptcies and foreclosures and all of these problems have been created by government loans. So how y'all, feel like that? So they go, we want to do more taxes. It didn't even say we want to help them get approved. It said we want to do more tax advantage mortgage programs because, and this is the freaking truth, and I've told y'all a lot, more than 70% of the mortgage interest deduction benefits go to the top fifth of tax filers. How many times have I told y'all that the overwhelming majority of people that have homes don't even itemize? They're taking the standard deduction. So when they tell you, oh, it's going to give you a tax advantage, oh, really? Look, and the saddest part is that we go and get the tax return done. They ask you, do you pay interest on your house? And you go, yeah. Then they charge you for that schedule, but don't even use it. They do the standard deduction. They should be punched in the face for that. Somebody go punch somebody. That's crazy. When they know that 70% is not. So like maybe probably depending, let's just say it's like tax preparation place and they mostly do us. You see them all over everywhere. That's right in the hood. How many of their customers are actually itemizing? Probably none. But they're still, you own a house? We get excited. Tell them yes. Then they do the schedule A, but you don't even get to use it. Because the standard deduction was higher for you as, say, head of household. So they're like, this one, 18,000, and your itemized was 12. Oh, we're going to do this. That's why we have to learn. That's why we have to learn this simple thing of doing your own taxes. It is one of the easiest things you could ever do for the majority of Americans. It was designed to be easy. It was designed to be easy. It is not designed to trick you. It's not any type of trickery. It's a Q&A. Did you this? Did you that? Da-da-da, da-da-da. We can go right to their website and do it. If they're a member, I would look at it I'll look at it with you before you send it in. But we'll go. Oh my goodness. And so anyway, but a lot of this is because we're not spending enough time talking and listening to, videos like mine so we can get out of this. Try at least. A lot of it's working is not working in our favor. If we sit and think about all the stuff that's not in our favor, we can't do anything but cry. But we can't give up. We can't give up. I don't know. One thing I'm not is going to depend on anyone knocking on my door and giving me all of the information that I need. I'm going to continue to put myself in places and go out there and get it for you. And if there's anything that I know, I promise I won't keep it from you. I don't care who your financial advisor is. It doesn't have to be me. It doesn't have to be me. But if there's something that God gives me, I'm going to give it to you. I'm going to give it to you. You got to know that you deserve it. You got to know you deserve it. But so as our day for King, let's make sure that we just continue to increase our knowledge, increase our motivation, go out there and help somebody else. As I was told, it is our responsibility to become our best self so that we can be the light for someone else. Love y'all. Take care. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Thank you. You got your soul intact. Oh, that's a fact. It's a mighty sweet thing. Yes, it is. It's my email. My phone number.